My name is Caleb. I'm 32 years old. I used to work nights as a nurse in a long-term care facility outside of Portland. The kind of place nobody really talks about, mostly old folks with no family left. Some of them couldn't even remember their own names. Some of them died there, quietly, without anyone noticing for hours. One of those rooms was room 209. It was always cold in there, even during summer. The thermostat worked fine in every other room, but 209, no matter what we did, it stayed cold. Mrs. Dunley lived in that room for the last 4 years of her life. She didn't talk much. She had a stuffed bear her daughter gave her back in the 80s. She'd pet it like it was alive. And every night, without fail, she would pick up the room phone and say, "Not tonight, please, not tonight." I thought maybe she was confused, maybe reliving some old trauma. Until she passed away in March 2022. Peacefully, in her sleep, we cleared the room, donated what we could. The bear went in a plastic bag with the rest of her personal things. The phone was unplugged and left hanging loose on the nightstand. About 2 weeks later, I was working a night shift. The new resident who was supposed to move into 209 had delayed, so the room sat empty. I stepped in. Immediately, I felt the cold. That same creeping cold, like the kind that gets in your bones. I stared at the phone for a long time. It was just after 2 a.m. I was walking the north hallway, doing rounds, when I heard a phone ringing, a landline. From 209, I stopped, just stood there for a moment. There shouldn't have been any sound. That phone was unplugged. I remembered clearly. The cord hung limp off the edge. Then it rang, right in front of me. I nearly dropped my flashlight. I reached down and picked it up, no dial tone. But as soon as I lifted the receiver, I heard breathing, slow, shallow. Then a voice, just above a whisper, "Not tonight." But I could hear it, that mechanical burring, every 3 seconds, from behind the closed door. I opened it, no one inside, dark. The phone wasn't even connected to the wall. Just sat there on the nightstand, quiet. I dropped the phone, left the room, didn't say a word to the other staff. Didn't want them to think I was losing it. But I started writing down the time every time it happened. 2:08 a.m., 2:08 a.m., 2:08 a.m. I tried to stay away from that end of the hallway. But some nights, I couldn't help it. I needed to know. A few weeks later, the new resident, Mr. Ellis, finally moved into 209. He was healthy, still walked on his own. His daughter decorated the room with a little bookshelf and a lamp. His second night, he asked me something odd. He said, "Do you hear that? The phone keeps ringing in here." I told him it was probably a wiring issue, but he just stared at me. "It rings at -0-8 every night." Then a woman says something strange. Like she's pleading. He didn't stay. Checked out the next morning. His daughter didn't even ask for a refund. After that, we left 209 empty. It's a storage room now. The phone's still in there, unplugged. But sometimes, around 2:08 a.m., when I'm walking past that hallway on my break, I swear I can still hear it ringing. My name is Marcus. I used to work nights as a hospital janitor in Phoenix. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid well. I liked the quiet. Most nights, it was just me, the late nurses, and the hum of the fluorescent lights. My supervisor would assign me to mop up there once a week. "Just a quick pass through 721, he'd say. "No one's up there but ghosts anyway." He'd laugh. I never did. Room 721 was at the far end of the corridor. The door was always closed, but the light inside was always on, even when the hallway was pitch black. One Thursday night, I was up there around 2 a.m. doing my usual sweep. The hallway felt colder than usual, like freezer cold. My mop bucket wheels echoed down the corridor like gunshots. I passed by room 721, and the door was slightly open. That was new. I paused. It was against protocol, but something made me look in. The room was clean. To clean, bed made, for stand ready. Except there was no chart, no name, just a pale blue blanket folded perfectly on the bed. Then I noticed the chair in the corner. Someone was sitting in it. The next time I was on 7, the door was closed again. But now, there were fingerprints on the glass. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe a patient wandered up. Maybe it was a nurse on break. Even though that floor was locked off for over a year. But then it happened again. Different nights. Always around 2 a.m. Sometimes the door was open, sometimes closed. Once, the chair was empty, but the bed was wrinkled, like someone had just stood up. The worst night came in December. I went up for a routine clean, and the lights were off. All of them, even room 721. But the door was wide open. I stepped closer, flashlight in hand. The air was freezing, my breath fogged in front of me. I scanned the room with my light, empty, chair gone, bed stripped. Except, on the wall above the bed, written in something dark and smeared, were the words, "I never checked out." I turned around to leave. That's when I heard it. The squeak of the chair behind me. I didn't look. I ran. I told my supervisor the next morning I wouldn't clean that floor again. He didn't argue, just gave me a long look and said, "You saw him, didn't you?" I didn't answer. I didn't have to. They sealed room 721 a week later. But sometimes, if I stay late and take the service elevator near that wing, I swear I can still hear the chair moving. Back and forth, back and forth. My name's Ryan. I work as a telemetry tech. The guy who sits in a dim little room and watches the heart monitors. It's quiet work. You spend 12 hours watching lines go up and down until they flatline. Most of the time, when someone codes, it's in a room nearby. We call it nurses run. Sometimes they save them. Sometimes they don't. But about 3 months ago, I started getting code blue alarms from room 306. There was only one problem. Room 306 had been empty for over a year. It used to be a patient room. Then there was a fire, a short circuit in the oxygen lines. The patient didn't survive. The room was sealed off after that. No one cleaned it. No one entered. The first night I got the alarm, I assumed it was a glitch. Monitor shows as active, heart rate at 130, then flatline. Then it disappears. I checked the system. No one logged in a patient. Vitals came from a ghost ID. Patient number 000. IT said it was just a software hiccup. So I ignored it. Always around 3:06 a.m. Always room 306. Out of curiosity, I pulled up the old logs. I shouldn't have. The patient who died in the fire was named Sylvia Mason. She had no family. Was admitted for something minor, pneumonia, I think. But every night, she pressed her call button. Always around 3 a.m. After that, the fire happened. No one ever said how it started. Just electrical failure. I started keeping a notebook. March 5th, 3:06 a.m. Room 306. Heart rate spike. Flatline. March 11th, 3:06 a.m. Same pattern. March 17th, 3:06 a.m., 3 flat lines in a row, 1 minute apart. March 18th, code blue called automatically. Nurses responded before I could cancel it. I asked security to check the room. They went up, unlocked it. They found nothing. Just an old hospital bed, burned at the edges, a melted oxygen tank, and a coal light cord dangling just a few inches above the floor. Last week, they finally started demo on that hallway. Tore open the walls, pulled out old wiring, metal, pipes. In one of the walls, they found a second coal light panel. Melted into the drywall. The bulb was still glowing faintly. When they cut the power, I got one last code blue on my screen. Room 306, 3:06 a.m. Patient, Sylvia Mason, status, calling for help. And then the system crashed. That was 5 days ago. They're rebuilding the wing now. Room 306 won't exist much longer, but sometimes when I close my eyes, I still see her heart rate just before it flatlines again.